Greetings all. Welcome to our seminar, The Creative Process of Making an Animated Movie. I'm Dan Hawes. I make animation, gaming, and virtual reality experiences for a living. I also teach university courses in gaming and creative management part-time and research techniques that optimize cognition within virtual reality learning spaces. Now, I plan to share the insights that I've learned over the past 25 years so that maybe you can create your own animated movie one day, or at least understand the process. As you know, this session is part of a virtual reality testing process. If you've already gone to the website and completed the consent form and short questionnaires, great. If not, please do that now, and we will be here when you get back. The course overview. To be clear, this is not a course on animation. Animation is part of the production process. This seminar will focus on the creative process that precedes production and is sometimes called pre-production. The presentation is broken into 4 sections. 1, key elements of the creative process. 2, the output of the creative process. 3, the critical questions to consider. And 4, a movie example to apply what we've learned. So, what are the key elements of the creative process? The idea, the story, the aesthetics, and the prototype. So it all starts with an idea. But how do you come up with an idea? Good question. Ideas can come from almost anywhere, but most often, original movie concepts start with imagination. It could be a world that you imagine or a certain type of character or person that intrigues you. What if toys were really alive? Toy Story. Or what if you could clone dinosaurs? Then you might think about a high concept for that idea. A simple, easy to understand problem or conflict that will capture the interest of potential moviegoers. Okay, imagine that an island was developed to showcase these cloned dinosaurs and create the most exciting advanced tourist attraction ever. What could possibly go wrong? Jurassic Park. Sometimes a movie idea is about a fish out of water, a character that is out of place and does not belong in that world. This concept is very common with comedy movies. Ratatouille is a great example of an animated movie that does this beautifully. A rat is the head chef of a 5-star Parisian restaurant. Elf is another fantastic fish out of water story. A 6-foot elf just doesn't fit in the elf world of the North Pole. With Fish Out of Water, by creating an outsider perspective with inherent challenges, we automatically feel and identify with that character. And there are lots of great gag opportunities when worlds and people do not fit together. Finally, you need to think about the character conflict that is created by the idea. In the case of Elf or Ratatouille, it's quite clear that just fitting in and being accepted will be a huge source of conflict and challenge. So, how can you build off that? The story. It's been said that the 3 most important elements of a movie are story, story, and story. Why is this? Well, probably for lots of reasons, but most importantly, stories help us create context and emotional connections. They entertain us. They educate us. They make us feel more human, allowing us to understand the nature of others' experience and help us realize that we're not alone. They make us better. So now that we have an idea, we need to think about the type of story we want to tell. Save the Cat is an excellent movie-making resource written by Blake Snyder and adopted by movie creators all over the world. In Save the Cat, he talks about 10 main movie genres. Instinctively, you probably recognize many of these genres. They seem straightforward. Snyder claims that almost all successful movies fall into one of these 10 genres. Here they are. Number 1, Monster in the House. Jurassic Park, Jaws, Aliens, and more recently A Quiet Place are all Monster in the House movies. There's a space you can't escape from and a major risk of a horrible death for all. Number 2, Golden Fleece. A Golden Fleece movie is generally characterized by 3 things: a road trip or journey, a team or buddies, and a prize that is sought. The hero or heroes take great risks, facing tremendous danger in their journey to secure a prize or achieve something spectacular or meaningful. Star Wars, The Wizard of Oz, The Nut Job, Up, and almost every heist movie ever made. They all use this formula. Number 3, Out of the Bottle. A wish, a spell, and a lesson. The hero initiates a magical process created through a wish, a spell is initiated, and the lesson is eventually learned. The hero learns that magic is not the answer. The answer lies within. Aladdin, Jumanji, and Cinderella are classic out-of-the-bottle movies. Dude with a Problem, number 4. Can be of any gender. Basically, an ordinary person is thrown into extraordinary circumstances that most often involve survival or something primal. Schindler's List, The Terminator, or Titanic. Number 5, Rites of Passage. These are movies about change, self-discovery, and overcoming a major obstacle to get into the next stage of life. These movies normally involve a journey, a pain, or risk of death to slay the proverbial dragon. As one might expect, How to Train Your Dragon is actually a rite of passage movie that uses a fish out of water character as well. Hiccup is an outsider from an insider's world. Moana and Frozen 2 are also rites of passage movies. These rites of passages are often based on common cultural mythologies, as explored by Joseph Campbell's The Power of Myth. More on Joseph Campbell shortly. Number 6, Buddy Love. There is an incomplete hero that is missing something and a counterpart that has those qualities, and a complication that makes things challenging and interesting. This is every love story or buddy story ever told. Toy Story, Finding Nemo, and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Number 7, Whodunit. Murder mysteries with a twist. Knowing who done it is interesting, but understanding why they did it, the motivation, is even more compelling. Knives Out, Clue, and almost every UK mystery movie are great examples. It's not that common with animated movies. Number 8, The Fool Triumphant. These are often fish out of water movies where the underdog wins the day. Wreck-It Ralph, Happy Gilmore, Elf, Bridesmaids, The Pink Panther. Number 9, Institutionalized. Locked away, the hero must adapt to a new environment, learn and grow. These movies are usually about groups where a choice is made and there's a sacrifice at the end. Adapt, die, or burn it down. Shawshank Redemption, Crazy People. Excellent classical examples. And finally, number 10, a genre we all love, superhero. An extraordinary character in an ordinary world. The hero has something special about them, a power, a talent, or even a mission to do good. There must be a nemesis or adversary of equal or greater force, and there must be a curse or destiny on the hero that they must overcome. Examples, The Incredibles, Spider-Man, Batman, Hacksaw Ridge, the war movie, and arguably How to Train Your Dragon. So can movies be in more than one genre? In short, yes. Here's an example. I would argue that Pink Panther is both a whodunit and a fool triumphant. Let's move on to the character archetypes. Now that you know what type of story genre you want to use, you need to consider the characters. And here are some literary archetypes to consider. The lover, the romantic lead who's guided by heart. They have passion and conviction but can be naive and rational. Classic examples, Romeo and Juliet and Belle. The hero, The protagonist who rises to meet the challenge and save the day. They're courageous and perseverant and honorable, but they can be proud and overconfident at times. Luke Skywalker, Wonder Woman, Harry Potter. Number 3, the magician, a powerful figure who has harnessed the ways of the universe to achieve these goals. They have access to science and alchemy, but can become corrupt and arrogant. Darth Vader, Gandalf. Number 4, the outlaw, the rebel who won't abide by society's demands. They're independent thinkers with virtue and nothing owing. They can be involved and actually criminals. Good example, Han Solo, Star Wars. Number 5, the explorer, a character naturally driven to push the boundaries of the status quo and explore the unknown. They're curious, driven, and motivated by self-improvement, but can be restless, unreliable, and never satisfied. Odysseus, Sherlock Holmes, great examples. The sage, a wise figure with knowledge for those who inquire. The mother figure or mentor is often based on this archetype. They are wise with experience and insight, but can be extra cautious and slow to act. Athena from the Odyssey, Obi-Wan, Star Wars, and the Oracle from Matrix. Number 7, the innocent. A morally pure characters whose intentions are always good. They're moral, kind, and sincere, but can be vulnerable, naive, and lack skills. These are most kids in movies. Number 8, the creator. A motivated visionary who creates art or structures during the narrative. They have willpower, conviction, but can be so single-minded at times. Zeus is a classic example in the Iliad. The ruler, number 9, a character with legal or emotional power over others. They're omnipotent with status and plenty of resources, yet they can be aloof and out of touch. Classic examples, King Lear, Cleopatra. Number 10, the caregiver, a character who continually supports others and makes sacrifices on their behalf. They're honorable and loyal, but lack ambition and leadership. Classic example, Mary Poppins. Knower, lover. The everyman, a relatable character who feels recognizable from daily life, grounded, down to earth, relatable. They may lack power and preparedness. Classic examples, Bilbo Baggins, The Hobbit, and Winston Smith from 1984. Finally, the jester, number 12, a funny character, a trickster who provides comic relief, but may also speak important truths. While funny, they can be insightful and obnoxious and superficial. Frank and Estelle Costanza, Seinfeld, C-3PO from Star Trek. Now that you've gained an understanding of the character archetypes, you'll need to consider how they work with your hero to create the necessary context and conflict that all good stories require. Also bear in mind that most characters should likely adhere to one of the archetypes. While there may be other interesting mixes, these archetypes are based on a great deal of literary analysis and are far more likely to connect with audiences' innate understanding of character archetypes. The journey. So you've developed your idea and you have a sense of the characters that might be part of that story. Before you get all buttoned down, you still need to figure out the path, arc, or journey of the hero character and how it all fits together. Joseph Campbell, in his study of cultural mythologies, posits that there are certain myths and rituals that are that are very common, in fact, to most historical cultures. The hero's journey represents the common myths and rituals associated with the growth or initiation process. In this picture, the journey starts with a call to adventure, and with the help of a mentor, the hero crosses over into a new unknown world where they now must face incredible challenges and the risk of death. The death concept can be real or metaphysical, but it involves the discontinuity of something that existed before in favor of something new or reborn. So why is the concept of death so used in these mythologies? Well, as humans, we're pretty hard-headed. Somehow the risk of getting audited on your taxes, having the car keys taken away, or being grounded just doesn't seem to be enough. We learn and grow when the most is at stake, and there is no way to avoid it. Once the hero passes through the final test, there is an atonement process, and they return with the gift or elixir that makes them better in the old world. Now, the next chart depicts a bit more context of the hero's journey. The call to adventure happens within the ordinary world, and the hero will initially resist or refuse that call. They have no desire to change until something happens that forces them or motivates them to change. With the help of the mentor or sage character, the hero eventually capitulates, crossing the threshold to this unknown world. Here they face tests and enemies, they make allies and build relationships that will help them survive. This is often referred to as the supreme ordeal or initiation process. The next process is the unification or transformation process. It's really about the final battle or challenge. As the hero approaches that ordeal, they must muster all that they've learned and gained to slay that dragon or take on their big challenge. Once victorious, they get their reward. It may be the love of a prince or princess, treasures, or just a feeling of confidence and self-acceptance. Upon return, the hero must also atone for their misdeeds before they are fully accepted into the world born anew. The Lion King is an excellent example of an animated movie that elegantly deploys the hero's journey. Simba's initial call to action is when his dad rescues him from the hyenas and challenges him to grow up. But he refuses the call until the situation changes. Finally, he is disgraced and feels guilty when he realizes that he may have caused the death of his father. He leaves humiliated to the other world to grow up. When he returns for the final ordeal, he defeats the evil nemesis Scar, takes back his homeland, and restores the world to its original state. He's back in the same place that he started, but far stronger, more mature, and much wiser. Now, Joseph Campbell suggests that our lives are really a series of journeys that follow a similar pattern. That journey into the unknown could be a starting of a new business, foreign travel, pursuing a passion, furthering education, or starting a new relationship, or just choosing joy or bliss over money and security. So when the call to adventure is finally accepted, the journey and subsequent growth happens. When the call is refused, the hero, you and me, can remain stagnant and frustrated. So do keep answering that call, my fellow humans. It's what makes us better. The aesthetics. Now that we understand what the story is going to be, we need to think about the aesthetics of the world and the characters. What is the world going to look, feel, and sound like? What type of art design, lighting, and color will define your digital worlds? What types of voice actors will you use to capture those characters? How about the music and the sound effects that you will need to create the mood and help tell the story? The first prototype. This is the first time that the elements of the creative process are pulled together to get an initial sense of whether it is working at all. The first prototype combines the storyboard, timed with voices, sound, and music, edited together to tell the full story. Each scene is woven together to create the animatic as viewed here. Here's an example scene from a movie that we're currently developing.
Artie, look! No, you can't make me! This has to be it, right? The works! This is it! This is where I'm gonna make it big and stand out from the crowd!
So the summary of the creative process: the idea, the story, the aesthetics of the world and characters, and the prototype or animatic. Other critical elements that you will need to consider: the movie versus TV format, who is the target audience, the ratings, and the key creative team. Who's going to do all this? Movie versus TV format. Movies generally have more at stake. They're longer and need to engage the audience for 90 minutes at least versus 22. The journey stakes and character arc is greater and the characters grow through their journey. TV shows have characters that remain the same or change very slowly over time. The target audience. Most animated movies strive for the Pixar four-quadrant approach. The movies are written and designed to appeal to old and young and all genders. These movies are for the whole family and are considered multi-layered. You often observe humor that adults would understand, but children would not, yet it does not diminish the child experience in any way. The ratings. G. That's for general audiences. All ages are permitted. PG, parental guidance, suggested as some material is not advisable for children. PG-13, it's PG but specifically suggesting that children under 13 should not watch. R, restricted, under 17 requires an adult guardian, and NC-17 only viewable by those 18 or over. All right, let's talk about the creative team. The producer, writer, and director roles. We'll start with the producer. The producer is often the source of the original idea. They may have imagined a concept, a genre, and may have a strong sense of creative direction. They may have a story they want to tell and are compelled to find a way. They're also thinking about what technology and process might be required and the business issues. How the heck do we pay for this grandiose idea? And how do we get our money back? Producers are most often meta-artists, bigger picture thinkers, but generally not experts in specific technical domains. Hence, they'll look to build a team of experts for each role. A producer will bring their two best friends in, that's their first order of business, to help develop the concept, the writer and the director. Let's talk about the writer. The writer may also be the source of the original idea. They may have written a spec script or pitched an idea, or they may just be hired for their skill based on another idea. The writer will produce the first script or written blueprint of the movie, and within this script, they must flesh out the world, the characters, and the story arcs. They are the guardians of the story structure and the ones that make the characters come alive. We call this giving voice to the characters, and it is very critical to have a unique voice for all of the characters. The director. The director must use their imagination to visualize the world and the characters as described in the script. They are the storytellers. They frame the presentation and translate the written words into a visual experience. But most importantly, the director is responsible for creating the emotion and overall effect on the audience. No emotion means no success. Make them laugh or make them cry. The sin is to do neither. Like the producer, the director is bringing multiple disciplines together to create the best possible experience. Now, sometimes you hear about people that do it all. They write, produce, and direct. So can people do all of these roles? Yes, in some cases, the producer, writer, and director are all the same person. And in other cases, they may do two of the three functions. That said, in my experience, it is generally better to bring unique perspectives and different complementary skills for each function. The output of the creative process. So, what is the output that we need for our creative process to be complete so we can move into the animation production process? Well, we need a script and storyboards that visually present the script with pictures of the story for every few seconds. Our characters and worlds must also be designed as they will be presented in the storyboards. We'll need the voices and sound effects and a score and a music track. Most importantly, we need our first prototype. That is the output. We call this the animatic, the first telling of the story that brings all of these elements together. We need to figure out how much this is going to cost, and a production plan needs to be completed to move into the production phase. Finally, if the story and the overall experience appears to work well, we can likely proceed to the next phase. If it doesn't, we may need to revisit some or all of the processes we just presented. In most cases, it rarely works perfectly the first time, so prepare for multiple iterations of this pre-production process. An example movie. Brainstorming the idea. What if pizza was a real world, alive with the ingredients living and working together? And what if something dropped from the sky, something that just doesn't fit, like a pickle? A pickle on a pizza? That's crazy. And what if the pickle could sing like Celine Dion? So we can follow that pickle's journey as he tries to fit into the world where he just doesn't belong. Now that you've completed the creative process and handed it over to the production experts, they're going to turn that movie into a masterpiece. So now you really need to think about how to capture the attention of the audiences, studios, or distributors that you plan to sell the idea to. This is generally done using a logline process. The logline should be simple and easy to understand. It should build on existing frames of reference. It should describe the hero with descriptive adjectives. Similarly, it should describe the villain with descriptive adjectives. And it should identify a compelling goal to be achieved, even if that goal is just to survive. Here are some example log lines. A lion cub crown prince is tricked by a treacherous uncle into thinking he caused his father's death and flees into exile in despair, only to learn in adulthood his identity and his responsibilities. To power the city, monsters must scare children so they scream. However, the children are toxic to the monsters, and after a child gets through, two monsters realize things may not be quite what they think. So now what about our pizza movie? Okay. When a fabulously talented baby pickle falls from the sky into a world or pizza, he discovers that this closed society has no place for him. To be accepted by this world meant for pepperonis, veggies, and cheese, he denies his pickleness until he realizes that he must be true to the pickle that he is, or risk losing everything. Thank you.